here we have a running Angular app, and what we'd like to be able to do is deploy this on Heroku. So there's a set of slides that walk you through doing that. Let's follow along. So let's see, we have course material. If you go to the Angular section, there's a set of slides here on how to deploy to Heroku. Angular routing. Let's see, routing. Heroku, what's Heroku? There we go, deploying to Heroku. So let's present this. All right, let's see. So first of all, right here, we're assuming that we are going to call our application MyApp. It's important that you know the name of the application. You have to keep that in mind. Ours is called this, right? If you go, if you do your, let's see, if you take a look at your package JSON, here's our package JSON. If you say more, hello? Oh my goodness, why so slow? More package JSON. Why are you so slow? My goodness. Hello? Is it running here? I think my terminal crashed. Wow. What is going on? Quit. Okay, CV, let's try it again. So if you go to your web dev, Januzzi, client, Angular, and you do more on your package JSON, see it says name here, that name of the application, that's important, right? We'll need to know that. All right, so let's follow along. Once we know the name of the application, we're gonna push it to a repository, which I believe I already did. But let's push today's content. So git status, git remote v. Okay, that's the repository I pushed to. So let's add everything we have. Git add, git commit. So we added, let's see, what did we add? Oops, we added the lessons and topics. And we're gonna push. So I was gonna push to the, let's see, git remote v. So it's pushing to this GitHub repository. Okay. All right. So I believe the next step is to create a Heroku application, right? So we go to our Heroku client dashboard. So let's see. We go to Heroku. And these are all my apps. So if I, sp20, there's the last couple ones that I created. This is the one for 4550. I'll create one for this one. But let me base the naming convention out of this. So let's go back. I'm gonna say new, create a new app. And I'm going to call it cs5610, and then I'm going to give it an O for online. And so I'm going to create the app. So once I create the app, let's follow along here, right? Once I create the app, what we're going to do is that we're going to link our GitHub repository with Heroku. right? So let's do that. If you go to deploy, you go to GitHub, and there's my Januzzi, and the repo name is, this is my repo name. So let me copy that, and there's my repo. I'm going to search. It finds it. There it is. We're going to connect. So it's being connected to my GitHub repository. We're going to, we want to do masters, enable automatic deploy, and here's master, and we're going to deploy. So this is going to fail, right? It's going to deploy, and it's going to fail, which is fine, right? It's part of the steps. So once we do that, let it go through, right? So these are the steps. They're displayed here. Automatic deploy, we deployed it, so everything works. Enable, deploy branch, excellent. Then make sure that you have the latest CLI installed, right? And so I'm just going to copy this. Just paste that. Oops, no. Copy, paste. And then the second, these are 2 lines, right? But really it's 1 line. There we go. So that's going to update and make sure that I have the very, very latest command line interface, Angular command line interface, and that's going to make an entry into my package.json file. Okay, it's going to have the latest CLI in my package.json. While that's going on in my Heroku, meanwhile in Heroku land, it's still going, still trying to deploy, but unfortunately it'll fail. Still taking a while. Anyway, let that run for a while. Okay, so we did that. On our project, we can see that on our package.json, where's this package.json? Package.json, it will have made an entry for the CLI. See, there it is, my CLI entry for the latest one. And notice that it made the entry in the development dependencies. We need to move that into our regular dependencies, right? Because when Heroku is going to try to install this, it's going to use the dependencies, not the dev dependencies. Okay, dev dependencies are dependencies when I'm running this in my development environment, but these are the dependencies for production, right? When it gets deployed in the remote server. All right, so let's follow along in our cheat sheet. So we did that. So in package.json, we're going to copy from our dev dependencies. We're going to copy into our regular dependencies our CLI compiler. All right, so let's do that. These 2 things right here, these 2, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to put them and paste them right here. This is so that the Heroku, when it deploys, right, and it builds the project, it knows what command line interface to use. Okay. Also, we need to in this under the scripts section of your package.json. So remember, package.json is the equivalent of a POM file, right, in Java, right? It tells how to build and the dependencies of the project, how to build a project. So let's copy this. This is for Heroku, how to build it, how to deploy it, so that it's going to run ng build for the production environment. So let's paste that right here in the scripts. Oops, copy, paste. Okay, excellent. What else? Also, we need to tell Heroku what version of Node and npm do we want. All right, so let's copy that. Copy that, and we'll paste it anywhere, but it's a top-level object. Okay, there it is. Now, these versions should be your versions, right? So you can find out what your versions are by doing node v version. That's 12.40. That's what I used. And same thing for npm version That's the version I'm using, 690. You should use your particular versions. What else? Okay, we did that. Also, we need to tell Heroku that we're going to be, all our code is written in TypeScript. And in our development environment, we have the current version of the TypeScript that we're using locally. We need to copy that into our dependencies. What else? Finally, we're going to need to create a little server to host our application. Right now, right, when we do ng-serve, ng-serve, basically what it does is that it starts the default node server, right? But Heroku is not going to have that, right? So we need to tell Heroku that we need a server that hosts our HTML JavaScript application, right? So we're going to build a little Node.js server. Right? So we're going to install Express. So Express, as we'll see next week, it's a Node.js package that allows us to build, really, really simple servers. Well, actually, not so simple. Pretty powerful servers. I mean, it's simple, but it's easy to create very powerful servers. So, once we have that, we're actually going to create the server. These are just a few lines of code to create our server, and we can do that here on in a file. And we're going to do that at the root of our application. I'm going to say create a new JavaScript file. We'll call it server.js. We're going to paste this few lines of code. That's how easy you can create a server. You load the Express library. You tell it where your app is located, right? And it's going to serve all the content in that directory, right? Starting with the index file. Now here's where the name of your application comes in. Right, you need to know the name of your application, and that's in our package JSON. In package JSON, here's the name of the application, because that's where it's going to be built. It's going to be built into that directory. So in your server, everybody's going to have a different name. So I'm going to paste that in there. Paste that in there. Very good. And finally, I think we're almost done. And finally, we're going to tell package JSON that once everything's built, everything's compiled, blah blah blah, it's going to start the server. It's going to start. You're going to use the remote node installation to run our server.js file, which we just created. So there's already a start command here in our package JSON. When you do ng-start, if you type in npm start, it's basically doing ng-serve, right? So you can either type ng-serve at the command line or npm start, right, which runs ng-serve. Well, this is locally in our local machine, but remotely we're not going to have that. So we're going to change this to be instead node server, meaning run our server app which we just wrote. All right, and I believe that's it. We're going to commit everything. We're going to do git add everything. Before we do that, let's see what happened in Heroku. In Heroku land, we can look at the logs. Build succeeded, blah blah blah, complete, spawn, failed. So it failed. It failed to work. So what we're going to do is that we're going to push everything to our Git repository. We had configured our deploy to automatically deploy whenever we push to our GitHub repository. So it'll push our changes from GitHub to Heroku, and it'll restart the deployment. All right, so we're going to do a git add, git commit, added Heroku details. All right, and we're going to push. Now this push is going to hit our GitHub. It's going to push to GitHub, and that's going to kick off a build. So if we look at the logs of the remote server, this should this should kick off a build. There it is. See, a build just started, and that's because we kicked off to GitHub. Heroku is listening to GitHub, right? Any changes in the GitHub repository, so it kicks off a build. Right, it copies all the content from GitHub into Heroku, and then it kicks off a build. And this build, might take a while. Yes? No? Should go. Hello.
Actually, Jose, while we're waiting for the deployment, I have questions.
Yeah.
So, for the ng4, I see that you put it in the li instead of the ul. What will happen if you put it in the ul?
Then it would copy the UL multiple times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it copies whatever you put it on. So you could do multiple divs, multiple buttons, multiple whatever. Right? Whatever you apply it to.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, this is taking a while. Why is this taking so long? All processes. Actually, let me go back to my deploy. I'm going to kick off the deployment manually. Okay, let's look at the logs again. The build started again. Let's see. Why are you not building? I did push, right? Didn't I? I did push. Git status. Yeah. And my repo is my repo, right? Let's see. Git remote version. It's this one. Copy. There's my repo. And my last commit was add Heroku details. Yeah. And this is not deploying. Why are you not deploying? It is pointing to that Januzzi master disable automatic deploys master deploy branch. Okay, let's see, loading output. Oh, there we go. Resolving, installing dependencies, view build log. Okay, installing dependencies. Cache directories were not restored due to change in version of node. npm restoring a module installation may take longer for this build. Resolving node, installing binaries. Creating runtime environment. Oh, there we go. Core, yada yada yada. Okay, build, blah blah blah, running, detected both build, yada yada yada. Alright, I guess it was just taking a while long and I was being impatient. Great, it's compiling. Platform browser. Forms. Router. All right, I'm gonna stop recording. It's taking a while.